Well, the House passing a $78 billion tax bill late Wednesday, putting Congress closer to expanding that child tax credit. The bipartisan bill is expected to help millions of low-income households, but it also provides key tax breaks to businesses and now heads to the Senate. Let's get to our next guest, Maya MacGuineas, Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget President, to discuss more. Maya, good to talk to you today. I can't help but note the vote here, approved by a vote of 357 to 70. It's not often you get bills like that today in such a polarized environment. What's your read on this bipartisan bill and its fate in the Senate?
It is not often that you get bills that have bipartisan support like that at all. And when you do, they are almost always debt financed. So one of the notable things about this is that this bill is actually offset. They have made the point that our debt is so large that new policies, whether it's spending or tax, should be offset so that they don't add to the debt. So that's even further progress. There's still a couple reservations I would point out about the bill, which is temporary tax policy is not the right way to do tax policy. What we really need is more certainty. But I think it does have broad-based support, and it may well pass in the Senate. There's not quite as much support there so far. There's still some reservations. But I think we could see this bill move forward and possibly become law by pairing the child tax credit with some business credit tax, some business taxes that are otherwise expiring or expired.
And Maya, as we look out in terms of what's not potentially being extended further, what sort of costs are we looking at there? Because I know that you noted that some of it might be understated at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So on one hand, I think it's really good that they made the effort to pay for this bill. On the other hand, we have seen temporary tax policies used as a gimmick for many, many years, and it's getting worse, not better. And that is definitely part of this bill, which would be paid for on a temporary basis. But if you look at those policies, which everybody intends to make permanent, their supporters all do, the cost of the bill could be as high as almost $650 billion over a decade. So I think we have to look at the actual intentions of the policies and understand that by sort of gimmicking them through certain time windows, we really could be putting huge amounts of pressure on the budget and in the next couple of years at a time where we can ill afford to do so because of the huge debt we already have.
Maya, you had a statement yesterday on the back of this tax deal, but also talking specifically about the potential expansion of the SALT deduction cap and your concerns coming along with that. Walk me through that and how you view that in the context of just where the federal deficit is today.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so SALT is a very contentious issue because it affects people very differently depending on the states they are in. And there has been a strong push by people in high income tax states to do something about SALT. SALT was a really important policy that helped offset a tiny bit of the Trump tax cuts. They were clearly not offset. They added trillions of dollars to the national debt. But SALT was one of the really important pay-fors that was part of that. And there's been pressure ever since to undo it. We have real concerns about doing that in a way that would, again, add to the fiscal gap that we already have, and in a way that's also inefficient and highly regressive tax policy. So if we end up having that portion of the bill or as a sidecar pass, which unless I don't think it's going to be a very large tax cut for the wealthy. And again, here's the fiscal situation we're facing. We are facing a country that has not passed the budget for the year that we are already 1/3 of the way through, has debt that's about to reach record levels and interest payments that are the fastest growing part of the budget. We cannot be adding more to the debt, particularly in a period of high inflation. We should be bringing it down. So I have grave concerns about anything that would make the fiscal situation worse. By the way, we should actually focus on passing a budget before we do anything on tax policy. That should be the first step for any country, business, and certainly for the United States.
And we keep seeing those concerns about the country's fiscal health, whether it's from JP Morgan, from other economists as well. Black Swan author Nassim Nicholas Taleb said that the US deficit is swelling to a point that it would take a miracle to reverse the damage. In terms of solutions, being that Congress has gotten used to this sort of piecemeal approach to this and really kicking the can down the road. What could an actual solution look like?
Yeah, because I am searching for that miracle every day and I don't see it coming. We don't have the political leadership that's really pushing for this. The choices are hard and none of our politicians like to make hard choices anymore. We have kicked the can so long down the road, so long that we are in a dangerous situation where we have our major trust funds about to be insolvent within the decade, and we are about to be spending more in interest payments than we do on the national debt. This is an emergency. The best way out, I can think, given the huge polarization in Congress and the propensity to sell free lunches, peddle free lunches instead of actual real choices on taxes and spending, is I think we have to put together a fiscal commission. I think it has to be really bipartisan, give the members a chance to dig deep and understand the huge parameters and risks of this fiscal situation we're in, build some trust between each other that they have so little of between the parties right now, and simultaneously educate the country about the real risks that go along with all this borrowing. I see a lot of people in the market starting to become very concerned, but I don't think there's a broad-based understanding in the country of these risks. And they are not just economic, they are about national security at this point. So I'm hopeful that something like a fiscal commission could lend the political cover to make some progress that we desperately need to do.
You raise a good point. I think a lot of times people look at the national debt, the fiscal deficit, and the numbers just seem so high, they just sort of put it out of their minds and, focus on their own personal economy. So definitely something that's needed. Appreciate your insights. Maya MacGuineas, Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget President. Thank you so much.
Thank you.